Welcome to Wayward Writers. I'm senior literary agent and author Heather Cashman.
I'm author and writing coach Stephanie Bearce.
And I'm author and writing coach Nicki Jacobsmeyer.
Our mission is to nurture and enrich established writers throughout their publishing journeys.
We welcome all genres, age groups, and publishing paths through video podcasts, online webinars, in-person retreats, and more.
We're here to help you conquer your path.
Welcome to this episode of Wayward Writers. We are excited today to talk with you about going to acquisitions. So you have gone to acquisitions, and now what? Nicki, what is the first thing we do?
We celebrate. Go get whatever, your chocolate, your wine, your whatever it is you do to celebrate and swim in that for a hot second.
Yeah.
And then get back to writing. And then don't try to think about it again. 'Cause it's still a process. It does not get quicker.
Right. And honestly, I think a lot of stuff goes to acquisitions and you might not even know it.
Happens more often than not, which might be a better thing, to be honest. I don't know. I guess. What do you guys think, Stephanie?
Speaking of which, Heather, maybe you could back up just a little bit and for our listeners, just explain what it means. What does it mean when your agent or the editor you've been talking to says you're going to acquisitions?
Yeah. So basically what happens is that, your agent or you submits a book to an editor at a publishing house, and acquisitions is the process, the meeting, the steps, whatever have to happen for the book to go from being a submission to they're considering acquiring the book. And then if you make it through acquisitions, then that means that they are going to actively try and acquire the book and make you an offer. So yeah, acquisitions is a huge milestone, I think, even though a lot of times your book doesn't get through acquisitions, it's still something you need to celebrate for sure.
And that is the real truth, isn't it? I've had books that have gone to acquisitions and not made it through acquisitions. With Nicki, like you said, Nicki, celebrate that because
for sure.
You overcame a hurdle, but it's not a guarantee, is it?
No, and a lot of times too, real quick, Stephanie, I don't know if I'm the only one. I can't hear you very well. Okay, there you go. Also, a lot of times before acquisitions, there might be a couple rounds before that, the editor going to their editorial meeting, and it's all the editors. So there's a lot of times you don't know any of it. And then there's times that there's all these steps that it's good to know the steps, because in the beginning, that can be the editorial meeting is not the acquisitions, but it's still a really big deal. That editor loved it and wants to get her or his or they's thoughts from other editors too. It's a lot about stars lining up. And so who's at this edit or acquisitions meeting, and what are they actually discussing at this point in the game?
So it depends. It's different at every imprint. There are imprints like Delacorte Random House where the editor can take on a project and they don't have to ask anybody's permission. Then there are imprints like Scholastic where you have multiple rounds of acquisitions meetings where it has to go through multiple editorial teams. Then it has to go through the book fair team, and then it has to go through another sales and marketing round. So acquisitions can be very complicated, and it can be very different at different publishing houses. In general, there's an editorial meeting where everyone brings their top submissions, and the editorial team, meaning all the editors on the team at an imprint, go over it with the publisher, and then they choose. So you're battling against all of the other submissions that are there at the time. And then
Battle of the submissions.
Yeah. And then if you get through that editorial meeting, then it will go to acquisitions with a sales and marketing team that have taken your book and read it and done a profit and loss statement. And, you know, the marketing people who have said, okay, these are like all the different marketing hooks that this has. And because of this, like, we think it's going to do really well this way or that way. Or we don't think it's going to do well, even though it's like the most amazing book. We just don't see how to market it right now. I was just told that today by somebody.
I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. It happens like every other day. So basically, like, you have to just, your agent usually knows and can give you a heads up. If they tell you you're going to acquisitions, they can give you a heads up of what the process is.
And this is one of those times where the editor is facing a possible rejection. I think it's really
absolutely
easy, and the agent and the writer, right? Because that editor's championing your work. And to them, they love it so much that they want to work on it for however many years, that if they're told no, they're in that seat too. And I think sometimes it's easy as writers for us to be like, we're the only ones being rejected, and agents and editors in the houses are the ones shelling out the rejection, but they don't feel it, but they do.
I make flippant comments like it happens every other day. And it does happen a lot to me, but it does hurt. I do usually have to go take a moment, especially once I know that it's in acquisitions. Like, sometimes I don't even know. But if I know something's in acquisitions and I'm like waiting to hear back, I often, when I get that rejection, I have to go take a moment and just have a little pity party. And then I come back because I have to be strong for my client.
Heather, let's talk about what some of the things that actually happen. You've talked about that you get the salespeople in there and they're taking a look at it, but the editor is doing quite a bit to get ready for that acquisition meeting, correct?
Oh, absolutely.
Getting together. What is the editor's role in this, in getting your manuscript in front of the acquisitions?
So a lot of times editors, if you don't provide as an agent a synopsis for the book, they often have to write a synopsis for it. They often have to get their own ideas for sales and marketing, for pitching. They have to share it with the team, and the team reads it. The team usually doesn't read the full, which is the purpose of the synopsis. They read a sample, usually 30 pages or 50 pages, but they're reading 30 to 50 pages of everyone's. So it's rare. So this is where, when you can write a synopsis, it's really important, because that can make a big difference for your book. So the editor is getting together all the book's materials, but then they're also usually doing like a deeper dive than the agent even did as to the maybe some comparable titles. They're also checking to make sure this doesn't conflict with any of the imprint's backlist, because they can't have things that compete with an active book that's on their backlist. They're looking at the author's platform. They're trying to see if the author has any kind of fan base and can they spin that in a positive way. They're looking at you as an author. Are you in touch with anyone, any other authors, anybody who is going to be able to really help you promote this book? Do you belong to any organizations that have to do with the book, especially for nonfiction? So the editor is doing like a much deeper dive on all of these things and then passing that along to their teams. And also they come up with pitches. They are actively trying to help you. So there's a lot of stuff involved in that, in them gathering information and trying to really pitch the book. So
a lot going on behind the scenes that we as authors really are often not aware of.
Another key that I forgot to mention, and actually this is a common reason for getting rejected, is they look up your previous sales numbers on previous books. And if your sales numbers on previous titles are not great, it will count against you. I've actually gotten rejections for clients based solely upon the fact that their last book didn't sell well.
That's scary.
And do they
Yeah.
provide that feedback to you then?
Yeah, they don't always, but sometimes I'll ask them. I'm like, okay, this sounded like you absolutely loved it. So what went wrong? What went wrong in the whole process? And sometimes they'll tell me, sometimes they won't.
And if they tell you, do you always pass it on to the author, or do you have to see, like, for instance, that reason? If someone says your last book didn't sell, what is an author? That is an uncontrollable at that moment. What do they do with that?
So, number one, me personally, I always tell my author the reason. It's your career. It's my career too, but you're the one that has to go and deal with this problem or this issue that is the reason that you're getting rejected. Because obviously your craft is good. Obviously the idea was good. Like, you had the package there and they wanted it until they saw your previous sales. That is a marketing issue that you then have to go and confront in some way. If you want to keep having a career as an author, there has to be some way that you overcome that. It's tough. It's a tough one, really. And
that one is.
It really needs to include some kind of rebranding.
Okay.
And rebranding can look a lot of different ways for authors. It can include a pen name. It can include an age category shift. It can include a major genre shift. I know an author who had this happen, and she was like, okay, I'm just going to go self-pub, and I am going to hit it so hard that I'm going to get a big enough fan base that they won't turn me down. And she succeeded.
That's awesome.
So you can, is it easy? No, it's so hard, but you can do it if you're determined.
Is it appropriate if you are unagented and so you're getting the rejection straight from the editor and they don't say why, they just say it didn't make it through acquisition? Can you ask for more clarification so you can grow from that? Or
I think you can. And what I have found is that if an editor doesn't have time to respond, they just won't.
Got it. Okay.
So you might not get an answer, but it never hurts to ask.
So there's a whole lot going on behind the scenes that the author doesn't have control of when they're in acquisitions. What are some of the things that you guys feel, what do you think, Nicki? What are some of the things that you can do as the author while you're sitting there waiting on acquisitions? The good or bad news? What can you do as the author?
Well, it's hard. It's exciting, right? You're very hopeful, and usually it takes longer than you think it's going to. And then we all know I've had rejections come, granted they didn't go to acquisitions, but like within 30 minutes, right? And that hope was short-lived. But okay, moving on. I think making sure that hopefully this has already happened when you submitted, but being prepared for really anything in regards to that manuscript or your career for that matter, continuing to do whatever you're doing with your platforms. And hopefully you've already done that you're not like, oh, now I should make a website, or now I should get on social media. And I know we giggle, but right, there's a lot to all the parts. You want to do that beforehand because they're going to look. I know, I'm sure you guys have too. I've had editors that was like, so I went to your website and this. I like how you did this. I saw this social media post. You know what I mean? So like they're looking. So don't kid yourself to think they aren't. Obviously, craft has to be there and everything else, but they might, which we'll talk about, one of their things might come back that revise and resubmit an R&R. Like you've got to be able to, to drop what you're doing and first consider if you want to do it and then go on. But I honestly, at least I've learned over the past decade, when it goes to acquisitions, try to put a pin in it and get to the next thing, because either they're going to pass, and that could be like 6 months, and you've spent 6 months waiting, and then you don't have something else to put on sub, or you get the pass and you have something like you have new characters and other things going on. Easier said than done.
No, but it is really good because I think that when you are on the traditional publishing track, what keeps you going and what gives you hope is the new manuscript, the next manuscript.
Absolutely.
And I think that if you wait around for anyone to give you that yes, then you're never really going to make it, because publishing is so slow that you've got to have not just the next thing, you've got to have the next 2 things, the next 3 things to get out there on submissions, because again, it's market driven. And so if you are only have this one thing and you're putting all your hopes and dreams into that one manuscript, then there's no way for you to be agile. There's no way for you to be agile in the current market. Maybe that manuscript, it'll come around in another 3 or 4 years and it'll be perfect. So you've got to have more than one egg in your basket.
Right.
I would also think that your agent wants you to have more than one egg in your basket.
Absolutely.
For sure.
I could be wrong, but
And
I think your agent might want a whole Easter basket full of all sorts of shiny new eggs for you to submit.
yeah. And Stephanie, I know you've gotten them. Like when you get the champagne rejection that unfortunately we have to pass on this, but what else do you have? Because I love how this writer writes and I want to work with them.
Yep.
And you're like, oh, I haven't started the new 80K and I don't even have an idea of the next novel. That's not great.
Yeah.
Not great.
I actually have a list, like on my spreadsheet, next to every editor's name, I have the list of authors that they want to see more from. So I know if something doesn't work, I know what to send them next. It is very helpful.
So Stephanie, what happens? What are the outcomes that can occur of the acquisitions meeting?
Yeah, basically 3 ways it can go. You can either get the offer and we can all jump for joy and have more celebrations and all the good things. And that, of course, will go on to contract negotiations, which is a whole next round.
It's another episode.
It's a whole nother episode. It is. Revise and resubmit. We've all talked about revise and resubmit in the past and on this podcast. And that's a great opportunity because you have that chance to take this manuscript to the next level with someone who is really interested in it. And so I personally consider a revise and resubmit as a win.
Absolutely.
Because I'm going to get to work with an amazing editor. I'm going to learn. And even if I don't get the contract after that, my agent has something that's even better to send out the next round. So I always say yes to an R&R. That's me. The third one is just a pass, and those happen. And that's when you go and work on that shiny new project so that you feel happy and you know the reason that you are a writer, because it's not one project. It's the new ideas. It's always having something exciting to work on, to investigate. It's hard. And you can have your pity party.
Sure.
Yeah, you got to. But that it is just one process of this. What about you, Nicki? What do you do when you get one of those? Any 3 of those? We all know with the offer. We are thrilled with that.
Yeah.
What do you do with the R&R of the past?
So I agree with you, Stephanie. An R&R is a win. An R&R, if you're in traditional publishing, is honestly like a free deep dive workshop. I've learned things from editors that I still use, and they didn't buy the manuscript. There was an R&R or maybe 2 R&Rs, and it's a pass. Those passes hurt. Those are a little bit more gut-wrenching. But
Absolutely.
It's a better manuscript. And so the R&R, unless it is so against your vision, or if you know you're not going to put your heart and soul in the R&R, don't do it. Don't accept it and then not give it all you got and thinking like you had to, or your agent would be mad or whatever, because it's going to be a crappy R&R if you aren't. Because you've already spent X amount of years on it and you're going to revamp the whole thing. So if you don't actually want to do it and take the time, I would not, I don't know, maybe Heather, you would stop me if I'm wrong, but don't desecrate your name.
And don't waste an editor's,
and don't waste the editor's time or the how. I mean, it affects a lot of people. But I think if your first response to an R&R is, no, I don't want to do this, I would stop and take some time and really think about that. Because I do know there's editors out there that if an author doesn't take an R&R, they might not work with them again, because that tells them something about collaboration. Mm-hmm. What's it going to be, the book? And then you're like, no. If you don't think there's a room for an editor to make your manuscript better, then traditionally published can be very frustrating for you. And that's not wrong. I just think you should know that. R&Rs are exciting. They're super exciting. You get to like actually talk to an editor about working through ideas and things that you maybe always thought but didn't know you should change. In the past, it's a bummer. There's no way around it.
It's a big bummer.
None. It's a huge bummer, you know, and some of them can be really, like we said, devastating. And that's why you have a community and you talk about it. And you do not go on social media and blast people. We could also have a whole episode on that. So here's the thing. Think 3 times and do once. Like, if you are frustrated and want to write your editor a letter, write it on pen and paper and then burn it. If that would make you feel better, do that. But do not show anyone. Do not post it. It will never go away. Publishing is a very small industry at the end of the day, and it's career suicide. I get all the feels, and those are all valid, but there is a professional way to handle them. So, yes. So send us an email, and we can tell you it's going to be okay. Don't do that to yourself. Yeah. And then after you've marinated in the response, then put your boots back on and get to the next thing.
Dive back in. Yeah. Acquisitions time is a waiting thing, isn't it, Heather?
Oh, you can wait a long time
on your next project. I was going to say, what kind of time frames have you seen? The short and the long. What do you see?
Oh boy. The longest I've ever seen someone hold something was like 9 months.
It's a while.
It's a long time. And the thing is that actually it might have been longer than that.
So was there a reasoning that you were told about for that?
So basically, you know, this one book I have that I did sell eventually. So the author, we submitted it. It wasn't the best time for the market, but it was the only thing I had to submit for that author. And I was trying to make it so that they would be putting out at least one book every year, because that keeps your momentum going. And I had submitted it, and anyway, things worked out completely differently, but it was not selling. And then a new editor came into the imprint, and the editor who had it, who did have interest in it, said, you know, I'm moving into this new position. Are you okay if I pass this off to this new editor? And I was like, sure. So the new editor was even more interested in it, and it took it to his team, and the team was like, no, we have too many things that are similar, like similar age category, similar genre coming out for the next like year. And so our list of this kind of stuff is full. And so he was like, okay, fine. I'm just going to keep it. I'm just going to hold it. And he and I just held it. And I knew that the editor had it, and we just checked in every few months, and he's like, yeah, the time just isn't yet. It isn't yet. It isn't yet. And then finally, I think he maybe forgot about it, but it was quite a while that had gone by. It was like 9 months or a year. And I nudged him again and I said, hey, is there a possibility you might still be thinking about this? And he's, oh, yes, I'm taking this to acquisitions right now. He's like, this month I'm taking it. And he sold it. Like I sold it and went through. So it can happen.
Awesome.
Timing.
Yeah.
And then it's the timing.
Yeah.
We've talked about like sometimes it's just the timing.
Yeah.
And that's a really great example of the timing has to be right for the project, for editor, for the list. Yeah.
Yep.
Some acquisitions are weekly or monthly, right? Every
Yes.
imprint's different.
And some only have acquisitions once a year.
Oh, wow.
Those are smaller imprints, and smaller publishers. But yeah, I mean, acquisitions can be twice a year. It just really depends on the one consistency in publishing is that everyone does it differently. So
Absolutely.
it's the same thing for acquisitions. Yeah. Maybe we should talk about some things that maybe you should consider not doing when you're in acquisition.
I don't know. I don't even usually let anybody except my immediate writing group know it's in acquisitions. First of all, nobody understands it unless it's another writer and a seasoned writer. They do not understand what acquisitions mean. So I will let my critique group know that it went to acquisitions because they will understand if I'm devastated afterwards, and that's my community. But it is not something I put out anywhere on social media or talk to anybody about because the publishing world is too small. And I don't want a possible editor I think that's risky. What do you think, Nicki?
Oh, I agree. You want to shout it, right? Because you're super excited. But I'll also say this, and I don't know if I think it's probably a combination of getting a thicker skin or more experience. The excitement for going to acquisitions has lessened over time because of the probability.
Yes.
Like I remember the first time I went to acquisitions, I just told my critique group, but I mean, it was like, oh, I'm at acquisitions. And then you start to learn that it's just one more hurdle, and not that you shouldn't celebrate it, but I don't think you should give it as much stock and energy when that energy could be going to another or new project. And so maybe that sounds cynical, but I think it's self-preservation because you start to get to the point where you're like, okay, like, great, this manuscript has maybe more promise than I thought it might, or like, it's still encouraging, don't get me wrong, but.
Well, let's give some statistics. I would say for me, just me personally, I would bet 50% of my manuscripts that actually make it to acquisitions get a no.
That's
I've
fair.
talked to other writers, and that seems to be about, what do you think, Heather? Is that close?
I think that's pretty close. I overall probably get more than that, more rejections than that from acquisitions, maybe. I hear of a lot of them after the fact. It's, oh, I took this to the acquisitions board and guess what? It didn't make it. Okay, well, that's honestly easier.
And I think that is part of just the real, yeah. I think that's just part of the reality of the market. It's a tight market. There's a lot of competition.
Yeah.
And as we talked about, when the editors they're all competing for to be acquired.
Yeah.
So, they're not going to acquire everything that goes into that meeting. And I think just being realistic, I think, is really important. And so be excited if you get good acquisitions. That's a wonderful thing. But don't lose your head.
Right. And I would also say, don't compare. This goes with so many stages in publishing, but your journey is not like any other one's journey. It doesn't matter if you have the same agent, you have the same editor, you're at the same house. None of that matters. So I would encourage you not to go down the slippery slope of, so my editor, she did this. What did she do that to you? Just you really don't want to know anyways. Like, it's not going to make a difference. So that's an uncontrollable. So I would try to avoid uncontrollables for your own mental health.
Yeah. And I think another really important thing is I see this with my newer clients who aren't used to getting the no's, but they have a hard time always wanting me to push and nudge. And if you are submitting directly to your editor, you need to refrain from pushing and nudging. I think that if it's a picture book, you have to give them at least 10 weeks, if not 12, before you nudge. I do think it is important to nudge 100%. As I said, I've sold books just because I checked back in more than once. But you also have to be respectful with how often and the way that you put your language. Like, you never want to be accusatory. You don't know what's going on in the editor's life. Maybe they've been out on maternity leave for a month. You just don't know what is happening all the time. And so I think it's important to be respectful even when you're feeling frustrated.
Absolutely.
And they can't hurry it along really either.
No.
A lot of times they don't have control over anything going any faster. So patience is a virtue.
Yeah, it is.
My grandma always said.
And it's really about your mindset too. It's really hard because our writing is personal to us and we love our stories and they are our creations, and anything that's your creation, it's something that's personal for you. But you have to remember, once you enter into trade publishing or even self-publishing for that matter, you're going to have people who reject the book. And sometimes the reason is because it's just not for the market right now, or it's not for that imprint, or their branding is changing, or whatever the case may be. You have to remember that for them, it's not personal. They're not rejecting you.
And once again, we're talking about if you got to acquisition. Nicki said at the beginning, that's a win.
Yeah.
It is verification that you've got the writing chops it takes to get an editor's eye, to have them want to publish your book. That is a win. And you have to take it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And even if it doesn't result in a sale, you know that, okay, I can do this. Maybe just the next project is the one that's going to get the big sale.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I had a discussion too with somebody today. Just today, I was giving a critique, and one of the things we discussed is that she has several different picture books, but one of them is way more funny, way more commercial, way more what the market is wanting right now. My advice was sub the best thing for the market right now. And maybe your first book isn't going to be that beautiful, quiet, poetic book. You know, maybe you've got to get a few books underneath you and get a good fan base before they'll start looking at other things like that. It doesn't mean your writing is bad. It just means maybe it's not your first book either.
Yeah, the market is just the market.
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but in the climate we're in, if you have a book that's marketable, but maybe needs some tweaks, I feel like that is probably easier to work with, and the editor might want to R&R than a book that's not for the market, but really great craft. If it's not good for the market, It's just not good for the market. That's just a pause. It's not a stop. It's a pause. Right now, it's not ready, and you don't have control of that. So,
and maybe it's that the market is not ready for your book.
Yes.
You have that mindset of yet.
Yep.
Yeah.
So maybe eventually.
Yeah. And I just want to reference really quick Emily Settle's episode where she said to us that you should keep trying experimental things, even if the market rejects them, because sometimes that's what ends up being the bestseller.
Yeah.
Yes.
For sure.
And it can be the breakthrough for you, too.
Yeah, for sure.
But no, it happens. And if you need to know that it happens, go into your local indie bookstore or go online to Bookshop. All those books had to go through acquisitions and pass. So it can happen.
Yep.
Sometimes it feels like a far off dream, but reach for it. Keep working. We're here for you as your community, and good luck.
Happy acquisitions.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Wayward Writers.
Let's connect. Find us at waywardwriters.com, X, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook.
See you next time. Conquer your path.